Welcome to the latest episode of Let's Talk Blood Cancer, the Patients Podcast, with me, Adam Joyce, former blood cancer patient myself. And today, joining me on the sofa, a massive supporter of Cure Leukaemia with her very personal story to share with us. Lizzie Dean, it's great to have you, Lizzie.
It's nice to see you.
On the sofa, it's great to see you too. Lizzie, your story is one that will undoubtedly make many of the viewers today just sit back and gasp about the journey that you've been through. Take us back to around 2014, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I didn't know the signs and symptoms of blood cancer before I got it. So I didn't really put together what was happening to me for a long time. The first symptom I got, which I kind of ignored, was getting bruises. And not really having a reason to have bruises, or not remembering why they were there in the first place. And then it was a couple of weeks later, maybe, I got a sore throat, and it was a really bad sore throat, so I went to the doctor, and they said I had tonsillitis. So they gave me antibiotics for that, and the tonsillitis seemed to go away, but I was still felt really ill after that, so I was tired all the time. And like, I was having time off work because I couldn't really do things that required any kind of effort.
Yeah.
So that went on for a little while, and I went back to my GP because I still felt ill, and I'd started to get these little dots on my skin.
Okay. What, like
little tiny red pin dots.
Okay.
I didn't know what they were, and I was also getting a pain down in my left lower abdomen. So I went back to the doctor, and they thought maybe I'd had a allergic reaction to the antibiotics that they'd given me.
What, the antibiotics for the tonsillitis?
For the tonsillitis, yeah.
Okay.
So they said, come back at the end of the week if you still don't feel better. And they gave me something for my stomach to protect the stomach in case I had a stomach ulcer.
Yeah.
Also, they thought might have been caused by the antibiotics.
Okay. And did you believe what you were being told? I guess you just had to put your trust in your GP.
Yeah, because everything I had, they had a reasonable explanation for. The dots could have been caused by an allergic reaction, by the antibiotics for the tonsillitis. And every time something new came up, they thought, oh, it's probably this. They never went straight to, oh, it might be blood cancer, because I was 25 years old. I was otherwise reasonably healthy, and the first thing you go to isn't cancer, it's something that's going to be much more likely.
Yeah.
So they told me if I didn't feel better in a few days, come back. And I didn't feel better, I felt worse. So moving just between rooms in my house was really difficult. I would get out of breath all the time, and my heart rate was always really high. So I tried to get an appointment at the GP, but I couldn't get one. So I ended up phoning 111 to try and get some help and just some advice.
You must have felt really rotten to ring 111 and not be able to wait for a GP appointment. Yeah.
I mean, it was a Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember, it was the weekend. So I wasn't going to be able to have an appointment until a few days later. And I just felt like something's really wrong. I need some help now to know what to do. Yeah. So I rang them, and they asked me what's my sitting heart rate, and I measured it, and it was about 120. And so they said, okay, you need to go to A&E because there might be something wrong with your heart. It's not supposed to be that high.
Okay.
So I went to A&E. At this point, as I said, felt really horrible. Just kind of like holding myself up in the waiting room seat was really difficult. I had to kind of lean against the wall. When they called my name to go through to triage, I stood up and just passed out.
Did you?
Hit the floor.
Were you at A&E on your own?
No, I was with my partner at the time. He took me to A&E.
Yeah.
We went. I went to get up to go and, as I said, hit the floor, and then I woke up in the A&E side room.
Yeah.
On a bed. They'd obviously come and collected me and taken me through.
You don't remember any of that?
No.
No.
I just remember standing up and then waking up on the bed in A&E. And they did some tests, blood tests, took some blood, and then they kind of came back and said, do you mind if we admit you to the hospital? At which point I thought, yeah, okay.
But what for, surely?
I don't really know why. So they didn't really tell me anything down in A&E. They asked me a few questions, which I didn't really catch on to at the time. They asked me if I had a family history of leukemia,
Did they?
But at that point, I still didn't think anything was really wrong with me.
Yeah.
So they admitted me to the ward, and then after a few more test results had come back, that's when the doctor came and told me, you've got blood cancer, you've got a type of leukemia.
And do you remember where you were at that moment and the thoughts that went through your head when a doctor says you've got cancer?
Yes, I was on whatever ward they take you from A&E to, where the observation ward, I think it is, where they're waiting for test results. I was there, and it just felt really kind of surreal, because earlier that day I was at home, and as far as I knew, I was fine. But now I was here in the hospital and I had cancer, and it was just felt really surreal and strange, almost like if I went back, I wouldn't have cancer anymore.
Yeah.
It was surreal and very unexpected, and I didn't really know what leukemia was. I thought leukemia was something that children have, and I thought cancer was something that older people have.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect that that would be what was wrong with me.
What did you do in those let's say that first hour or two after receiving that news?
So the first thing I did was I rang my mum, and I told her, and then she came into the hospital as well to see me, and then I just kind of, because I didn't really know what was going on, I just tried to listen to the doctors and the nurses and try and figure out what was happening to me, and so they were still running tests to find out exactly what kind of leukemia I had, and they came and gave me some treatments, like some pills. They said, it's just in case it's this type, take these.
Oh gosh.
Because my white cells were extremely high, red cells and platelets were very low, so they wanted to start treatment as fast as they possibly could. So just in case it's this kind, take this now, whilst we wait for the test results to come back. And then once the test results came back, they found out it was AML.
How long did that take for those results to come back, for you to actually get that diagnosis of acute
It was a few
myeloid
hours, I
leukemia?
think. It was later that same day. And then I got taken onto the haematology ward, and they started chemo the next day.
So it's a real whirlwind, isn't it? There's no real time for you to process anything, because I remember it as well. Did you have questions that you wanted answering?
I did. You get given kind of a lot of information, like printout sheets of information, and at the time I couldn't really read them or process the information, so I would have a family member or someone read it and just tell me with the information in it.
But they were trying to process it themselves?
Yeah, and the doctors help because you can ask them. They would come around fairly frequently at the beginning, to answer questions and tell me what was happening and what was going on. So yeah, I just tried to figure out basically what's happening and what do I need to do to try and have the best chance of beating it.
Of course. And looking back to that time around your diagnosis, Lizzie, did you have any comprehension of the length of journey ahead of you? How did you think things were going to play out?
So at the beginning, I didn't have any idea. I didn't really know what was going to happen. The second night that I was in hospital, I woke up in the middle of the night and couldn't breathe. And so I had to go into intensive care for about a week whilst they started treatment. And I had to be on a machine to help me breathe. So at that point, I was thinking day to day. I wasn't thinking ahead at all. And once I got into a state where I could kind of comprehend what was going on, then I was more aware of how long things were going to take, and I started to ask more questions.
Yeah.
About what was going to happen to me.
And for a woman in her mid-20s, as you were, it was a really unusual diagnosis, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, as I said, it just wasn't what I was expecting to be wrong with me. And yeah, it was a big surprise.
Because your diagnosis generally doesn't affect younger women,
Yeah.
does it?
Yeah.
Did you feel that life was really unfair? Did you start asking yourself, why me? Or are you not that type of woman?
Not really. My mindset was, this is a thing that's happened to me. There's nothing I can do about it. What can I do that's in my control to make the best of it?
Okay. So talk to me about your treatment then. What did it look like? So after that initial shock and that time in intensive care, how did your treatment then start to take place?
So it was chemotherapy for, I think it was for a week, and then I would have to spend the next 4 to 5 weeks in hospital whilst my blood counts recovered.
Yep.
And then I would start again, have another week of chemotherapy, and then wait again for my counts to recover before the next cycle.
Yep.
So the first whole cycle I had to stay in hospital the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 5 or 6 weeks in hospital at once. And then in between the cycles, following on from that, I was allowed to go home between the chemo for my counts to recover.
But going home, most people would think, oh, when you go home, you're better, or certainly that's a good time. But when you're at home, we feel our worst, don't we, when you're having chemotherapy?
Yeah, so the first time I went home after like 6 weeks in hospital, it was quite scary. Like even just like being outside and hearing all the noises and things felt like they were moving really fast, because I'd been sitting or lying in one room for 6 weeks. Everything was quiet, everything was slow. And then suddenly like I'm out in the world again.
Did you feel vulnerable?
Yeah, you do. Like, because when you're in the hospital, the doctors and nurses are right there. You can press a button and they come to you within minutes. When you're at home, you're a bit like unsure about what things you should do to keep yourself safe. And if something does go wrong, are you going to be able to get to hospital quickly enough for them to help you? So it's quite scary and it's a bit anxious.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to always have someone with you when you're at home, just in case you need to be taken to the hospital quickly or something goes wrong. So we ended up having a kind of schedule of people who would sit with me, family members, friends, parents of friends, and all this, who would sit with me when they were able to and when other people had to go to work and things.
How was that for you, though? Didn't you just want some time alone?
Well, I'd been alone for quite a long time in the hospital.
Okay.
I mean, although the nurses are there all the time and you get visitors, most of the day you do spend kind of sitting on your own.
Yep.
So it's nice to have people, but you do kind of end up feeling like a bit of a burden on the people around you because they have to be with you all the time.
But they'll tell you that you're not.
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
But you can't do anything by yourself. They have to cook food for you. They have to take you places when you need to go places. You can't ever just do something for yourself.
And your treatment plan was to hit you really hard with
Yes.
chemotherapy and to hopefully destroy those cancer cells and return you to health. How did that pan out?
So, it was the intensive chemo because I was young enough and fit enough. And initially, I did get into remission. And I thought, great, I'm done. And then about 6 months later, I had a relapse. It was a routine blood test. I was having them every month at that point.
Yep.
And one of them came back and just my counts were just low again. And they did a bone marrow biopsy to confirm, and the leukemia had come back.
I have to ask you, Lizzie, you'd gone through month after month of clear check, clear bloods. How do you deal with that news, that disappointment?
It's the first thing is it was just really scary, because at first I didn't know what was like. Is that it? Like, have I got it? It's come back now, and I'm going to die. So initially it was just kind of fear, and then I found out that there was a second line of treatment, like a backup plan, which was a bone marrow transplant.
Yeah.
And once I kind of knew there was something to do next, I felt a bit better. I still felt kind of like, oh, not again. Like I went through all that, and now I'm going to have to go through all that again. But it was kind of, okay, this is the next thing to do. Let's just get on with that now, and we'll do that.
So you had that relapse. Were you admitted straight back into hospital at the time?
Not straight away. I had a bit of time because I felt it was like right at the start of the relapse, so I still felt kind of well-ish. And I had to get transferred to Birmingham Hospital for the transplant, so that took a bit of time. And so I think it was a few weeks maybe where I got admitted to the hospital and then started treatment for the transplant.
So then you were in the Queen Elizabeth?
Yes.
In Birmingham. And talk to me about the run-up to your transplant then.
So they basically give you total body irradiation for a week. which means for me going down to the radiation centre, sitting in a room really, really still for I think 20 minutes whilst they hit you with radiation, and then I would go back up to the ward and then basically throw up for the rest of the day.
Oh.
And did that for a week. And then after that, the actual transplant, which is where I get an infusion of my donor cells, which is quite exciting. But then that quickly wears off once you feel the effects. The effects of both the radiation effects start to kick in, and then the transplant effects as well. And it's a lot to physically to kind of have to deal with.
Physically or emotionally?
I mean, both. I mean, the hardest thing for me was probably the physical side, because that led to the emotional difficulties. So there were days where I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even lift my arm or roll over it while I was lying in bed. And there were times where all I wanted to do was sleep because I was so tired. But when you've got the pain as well that's stopping you from sleeping, it's just, and then that leads to the emotional, just pain, I guess, as well, of just feeling this is horrible, I can't do anything. And then the frustration of not being able to do the things that you normally would be able to do. Like get up and get dressed for yourself and just go and make a cup of tea, just normal things that you always thought were easy before, just became so hard.
So transplant?
Yeah.
What happened then?
So after the transplant, I achieved remission again. Yeah. And then another 6 months later, I had another relapse.
So your second relapse after a bone marrow transplant. The bone marrow transplant, you were told that the first relapse is the alternative pathway, the plan B. Yeah. So you'd had plan B and now you'd relapsed. Yeah. Again, it's the same question. How do you deal with that? And how did those around you deal with that news?
So this time was a bit harder for me because this time I knew that there wasn't another backup plan. I was told that if my blast cells, so my percentage of leukemia cells in my blood, were 5% or less, then I could have a donor lymphocyte infusion, which is like a top-up transplant. My test came back at 8%, so I couldn't have that. And so that's the point when I knew, I'm done for. This is the end.
So those are your words. I'm done for. This is the end. Is that what you genuinely thought?
That's what I thought. Yeah. For the few minutes after they told me that, until they told me they had a clinical trial available, I thought I'm going to die in a very short amount of time.
Did the experts think you were going to die as well?
They did. Yeah. So after they told me that I had 8% blast, I kind of stopped listening to what they were saying, and would just it felt like just kind of I'd fallen out of myself a little bit, and I wasn't listening to anything around me. And my mum later told me that what she'd gone on to say was, you probably wouldn't live longer than another 2 months.
Okay, so you were told, and your mum was told, that you've got 2 months left to live.
Yeah.
But you don't remember hearing that?
No.
Gosh. And how did it affect your mum? How did your mum process that?
She very much kind of kept it to herself to be strong for me. So, I mean, I still don't really know how she dealt with that. I mean, she's been a kind of a constant for me throughout the whole process. Yeah. I've always gone to her for everything, and she's always taken me to all my appointments and stuff. So she's been amazing. But yeah, I do worry a little bit about how it's affected her.
Did you ever process it yourself that you have only a finite time left to live?
I felt a bit lucky in a way, because it was only a few minutes later that they told me that there was a clinical trial available that they wanted me to sign up for. And so I kind of then thought, okay, ignore all that stuff. Let's go for the clinical trial. Let's think about that now instead. Let's think about what we can do to make it better. And so I just kind of grabbed onto that and went with that. And that gave me a reason to be strong and keep going, really.
Do you think that was intentional to move your mindset that way, or was it just almost like a fight or flight reaction?
I don't know. I think it was good for me to have something to concentrate on. And if I didn't know that there was something coming that could help me, then I think I just kind of would have just spiraled. But because I knew there was something for me to do next, I just had something to think about and focus on, and so that was helpful for me.
Oh, and thank goodness you were given that chance so soon after being given that awful, devastating news. So conventional treatment, there was nothing left.
Yeah.
I'm right in saying that, and you were going to die.
Yeah.
They'd put 2 months on your life, which is still so really difficult to comprehend. What was the news about the trial? So was it, yes, you are definitely on a trial, or there may be a possibility that we can do something for you?
So they said they had a clinical trial that was already running, that they'd like me to sign up for. And it was kind of like the stars aligned for me, really, because it was for the exact leukemia that I had. It was for relapse patients like me, and I just fit all the criteria.
Wow.
And it was just happened to be running at that time in that place. And it was just perfect for me. So I didn't really need to hear about it. I was going to sign up no matter what.
Well, the obvious question is, what choice did you have?
Yeah.
You didn't have a choice at all, did you? So it was a guaranteed acceptance onto the trial then? When you were told about it, you didn't have a waiting period?
They already knew that I fit the criteria.
Great.
So, yeah, it was kind of straight away.
And for those people that might be watching this podcast and they're not too sure about a clinical trial, can you tell us a bit about what that involves?
Yeah, so it's basically doctors, researchers have a potential new drug that they think will help, and they need to test it to see if it will help, to see if it's even safe to give to people. And for my kind of trial, which was a phase 1 trial, they want to find out the right dose to give to people. So they'll give a low dose, a higher dose, and keep going higher and higher until they find the dose they want.
And what expectation, or how are your expectations managed by the people offering you this trial? Because if there's so many things you've just said there that are, it might, it may, we hope.
Yeah. So they did say that this isn't intended to be curative, but we think it might help extend your life for 3 to 6 months.
Wow, is that what you were told?
Yeah.
Oh, so you weren't immediately looking at a potential cure?
No, just to live a bit longer.
Gosh. So you started on the trial?
Yeah.
How did that look?
It was, for me, much easier than my previous treatments. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I was still kind of knocked out from previous treatments before. The tiredness was always there. I'd kind of got used to it at that point. It was kind of normal for me. But I had a combination of drugs. So one was a tablet and one was injection into the stomach. And so I would come in every day for 7 days to have the injection, and then I'd take the tablet every day on those days and at home, and it was a 6-week cycle of doing that. And if after the first 3 cycles I was either, my cancer either hadn't progressed or it got less, it got better, then I could carry on for the next 3 cycles. And after the first 3 cycles, I'd gone into remission.
Yeah.
So it had a really good effect for me. I think better than they expected.
Good.
So I did the next 3, and then after that I was still in remission. And that was kind of when the trial was supposed to end, because I didn't know if it would have that good an effect on people.
Right.
So they kept the trial open for me and carried on allowing me to have the medication.
Because of how well you'd responded?
Because of how well it was going.
Gosh.
And I ended up having 18 cycles over 2 years before we decided that it was time to stop.
And, well, I mean, time to stop is obviously a good thing. Why after 2 years, why was it time to stop then? So
I was told, so we kind of we made a decision together between me and my doctors and my research nurse. Mm-hmm. I was told that after 2 years, if it's going to come back, it would have come back by now. I was also told that if it comes back whilst you're having treatment, there's not much they can really do. But if you stop treatment and it comes back afterwards, they can maybe start treatment again.
Okay.
Because it had worked before.
Okay.
And so they kind of said all these things, and they said, they asked me if I wanted to stop, because they would have carried on if I'd wanted to carry on. But they also said you have to kind of go and live your life now. Mm. At this point, I was 30 years old, and they were like, I'd been in treatment for 5 years, and so they said it's time for you to go and have a life. And so I took all what they said, and I agreed with them, and we stopped there.
Amazing. And we will talk about the life that you've been leading since in a moment. You just mentioned a research nurse there. Who and what's a research nurse?
So my research nurse was Donna, and basically they do everything for you whilst you're on a clinical trial. I've also been treated by the other research nurses too. They're all amazing. Yeah. But basically, as well as physically giving you the treatment, they run the trials. So they arrange all my appointments. If I have any questions or anything's wrong at any point, I just call them and they just do everything, and they're amazing. And I wish I'd had one of them earlier in my treatment. Yeah,
and you mentioned Donna, Cure Leukaemia's first funded research nurse, so a very famous name within our charity. So 2 years after the trial, you stopped taking the drugs. How often did you then have to be monitored?
So at start, it was fairly often. I had to have a bone marrow biopsy every 3 months to make sure that I was still in remission.
And that's not nice, is it?
No, not at all.
Can you tell anyone who's watching how is a bone marrow biopsy carried out in real simple terms?
So they basically stick a big needle into the back of your hip and they pull out some of your bone marrow. They put it into the bone, pull out some bone marrow. And sometimes, if they're feeling mean, they also take a bit of the bone.
There's no way of making it sound any nicer than that, is there? No. So you're having regular bone marrow aspirates?
Yeah.
And
everything was coming back okay. And then I went into like a follow-up clinic. I would come back, I think probably every month at the start, and then it gradually gets less, every 3 months, every 6 months, and now I'm up to once a year.
Which is just wonderful. Yeah. Like, it's an incredible, incredible story. And you've told this story to some great success, which I'll touch on in a minute. But during those times of going back, because you'd had 2 relapses and you'd been so close to death, were you just a bag of nerves all the time? Or is your mindset better than I think mine would have been?
I mean, a little bit. Every time I would be okay up until the point I had a blood test. And then until I got the results, I'd be a bit anxious until I knew that it was okay.
How long were you having to wait?
It was only like maybe an hour or two after the blood test. Sometimes I'd have the test the day before and then go back.
Yeah.
But it was, if I was ever in the same waiting room as the time my first relapse, where I was there waiting for blood test results, if I was there again waiting for new blood test results, that was always the worst. Because that's exactly where I was sitting just before I was told about the relapse. So I would always kind of like try and look at the doctor's face to see if they were happy or looked a bit sad before they told me how my results were.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even now I get a little bit nervous on blood test results.
Of course, as you would. And how often are you going back now?
So I'm going back to Birmingham once a year now.
Once a year. This is just incredible, isn't it? And just before we do move on from that as well, I asked you about sort of how you felt, whether you were nervous getting the results of your blood tests, but what about the normal everyday tiredness that everyone gets, or little coughs and colds? Do they panic you? A
little bit, yeah. So every time I have a cold or I get a bruise or something, I'm like, is this the start of it all again? So I check things like a bit better now. I mean, before at the start, I kind of put things off, and I went, "Oh, it's probably nothing." But now I make sure if I see something that I think might not be okay, I go and tell someone straight away and put my mind at rest.
Yeah, good. And you mentioned being tired all the time. I wouldn't want anyone who's watching this podcast to think, oh, because I'm exhausted, then maybe I've got leukemia. The tiredness is different, isn't it? Yeah. When you try and describe to someone how tired is leukemia tired?
It's hard to explain because I used to have 3 types of tired. So I would have sleepy tired, which is just when you feel a bit sleepy tired. Yeah. I would have blood tired, which is when my blood counts were low. And basically I was out of breath all the time. I couldn't do much. And then I would have bone tired, which is when I literally can't move my arms. It just takes too much energy and I just have to do nothing. It's
serious tiredness, isn't it? It's not something so, as long as nobody watching this is worrying just because they need a good night's sleep. Lizzie, since your trial ended, in fact, even before that, you've been a massive supporter of Cure Leukaemia. Some patients get their treatment and they return to their lives and they carry on and try and forget all about it. You've almost gone the other way and you do loads for our charity. And why is that?
Well, I just felt like I'd been given this amazing chance that I wouldn't have had without them. And I feel like it's almost not fair that everyone doesn't get that chance. So I just wanted to do a little bit of what I can to help everyone who's in my situation have the same chance that I did.
Which is just incredible. It's incredible for everybody because the research is what has saved your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've told your story just like you are today, which is incredibly powerful. And you were on BBC Midlands, was it Midlands Today
Midlands
you were
Today,
on?
yeah.
What happened as a response? I mean, I know, but just tell everyone who's watching.
So Midlands Today came to do a story on the opening of the new Centre for Clinical Haematology. And they wanted a patient story. And Cure Leukaemia had a video of me talking about my story, and they sent it. And they put it on the news. And there was a lady who was in charge of a trust. And she had, I don't exactly know how much money she had, but I know she had quite a lot of money left in this trust that she wanted to wrap up. And so she donated it all to Cure Leukaemia.
And do you know what that figure was?
I know it was 6 figures, but I don't know.
Yeah, a six-figure sum.
Yeah.
Huge on the back of your story. And to think that you touched somebody enough for them to donate that kind of money, how does that make you feel?
It was just great. It was... I just wanted to help, and there's all these people doing all these challenges, running, cycling, and at the time there was no way I could have done any of that.
No.
But that was something that I could do to help.
Yeah.
And it did help, so I was just really happy that I could help.
Do you remember getting told that donation had come in?
Yes.
How?
I was just a bit shocked and surreal. And I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's amazing.
And since then you've gone on to raise nearly $750,000. But what that money really means is that more people are going to get the chance that you have had, which is unreal, isn't it? You're back to living your life now.
Yeah.
What did you miss during those years when you were receiving treatment? And are you trying to get that time back now?
It was the really normal, boring things. Like, during my treatment, people said, like, at the end of this, are you going to go on holiday, travel the world? And I said, no, I just want to be normal. I just want to get back to normal and have the life that I would have had if this didn't happen to me. So it was just normal things like driving my car, going to work, like really boring things that I just wanted to be normal.
Does life feel normal for you now?
It does, yeah. I mean, apart from having to go to hospital appointments every now and then, and I'm still not kind of back to the fitness that I was before then. I still get tired a bit quicker than most people, and I'm not very strong. But apart from that, normal day-to-day life is pretty normal for me.
Yeah, which is great. And there will be undoubtedly people watching this podcast now who have just started their journey, maybe just been given a diagnosis. You've really experienced the full range of emotions attached to blood cancer, haven't you? Are there any words of advice you can give, not only to patients, but to their families as well?
I would say try not to worry about the things that you can't control. Think about the things you can control and just concentrate on that day to day. What can you do that's within your power? Try and be positive. I think that's very helpful. And just don't give up, because there's always hope.
Well, you are absolute testament to the fact that there is always hope. Lizzie, thank you for everything that you do for Cure Leukaemia, and your story is just so powerful. It's fascinating for me to sit here and talk to you. Everybody, you have been watching Let's Talk Blood Cancer, the Patients podcast, and on the sofa today was Lizzie Dean.